Morning guys, so today we are looking at drivetrain loss. So on our dyno, the Astra made 275 bhp at the engine. On MB's dyno, it made 254 bhp at the engine. Now you'll remember from the last video, we made 234 wheel horsepower on ours and 227.7 wheel horsepower on MB. So the difference between these two wheel horsepower is not much at all, but the difference in engine bhp quite big. So anybody that knows me or has watched these videos will know that I like to know why. I like to know how that's why it's happening. How is it doing that? Why is it doing that? So I wanted to know why. Why is there such a big difference? How's it calculated? So chassis dyno, for those that don't know, measures power at the wheels. So your tyres are your contact patch with the dyno rollers. It calculates how much power is at that point. Simple, not a problem. It then does a calculation to work out a guesstimate of how much power it thinks has been lost and how much it's then got at the engine. So as power travels from your engine through your drivetrain, which we'll look at in 2 minutes, it loses power. It loses energy through friction, through heat. So what points are there in your drivetrain that would cause this problem? So we've got gearbox. We lose power through your gearbox. So your gears, when they mesh together, they create friction and heat. So we lose energy there. We've also got bearings within the gearbox. Again, same thing. You lose friction and heat. Your diff, you've also got bearings in your diff. The diff is part of the gearbox and your front wheel drive. But yeah, bearings, same scenario. You lose power and efficiency there. And again with the gears in your diff are slightly different. They're less efficient, and so you lose more power in the diff, which is fine. Drive shaft, we've got 2 drive shafts, and again we've got bearings on either side. We lose power from that too. So let's do the calculation. In order to work these numbers out, there's quite in-depth calculation that's required to do that. So we'll make it simple at this point. So we've got our gear, power into the gear and power out of the gear. Whatever the difference is, this is what these numbers add up here. So the power lost from the gear, meshed together, happy days. Okay, so let's work out. So 0.941 times 0.931 times 2 drive shafts is 0.841 times that by 100 to get our percentage is 84.1% efficient. which means we have a 15.9% loss. Okay? 15.9% loss. Given that if you Google front-wheel drive drivetrain losses, you'll get a figure of about 10%. That used to be the average of what people would add. We'll let you work out whether you think it's accurate or not. But anyway, 15.9% loss. So if we work that out from our wheel horsepower figures earlier, so for MB we were 2 to 7.7, and at our dyno it was 2, 3, 4. And let's make that a wee bit nearer. Times that by 15.9%. And 2, 3, 4 times 15.9%. 263.9 and 271. Okay. Quite different, right? We're just going to jump in here real quick and do a Google search, looking for a converter from wheel horsepower to crank horsepower. See what figures we get. So 227, we get 263, which is exactly what we got on our calculation there. 234, we get 271. Exactly the same as what we found. So that's at 15.9%. With gearbox, diff and drive shafts taken into account. But what's missing? There's more to it yet. So we have drive shafts, but we've also got wheel bearings as well. So let's add in wheel bearings. Okay, so wheel bearings. So yeah, there are bearings. So they will be 0.99, which means our calculation will be 0.941 times 0.931 times 0.98 twice, and then bearings 0.99 times 0.99, because we've got two bearings. So 824 times it by 100 to get our percentage equals 82.4% efficient. Which means we have a 17.6% loss. Okay, so let's work that out. So 227 times 17.6%, 234 times 17.6%. So 267.7 and 275.184. So 17.6% we know is accurate because it's covers gearbox, diff, drive shafts and wheel bearings. It's going to be as close as you can possibly get it without taking the engine out and actually putting it on its own engine dyno. So 17.6% is a good calculation for front wheel drive vehicles. I will do another video on rear wheel drive, calculating that, and all wheel drive. I will do one on that as well. I find it interesting. Most people won't, but for me, I like to know how things work, so this is good for me. Okay, so as most people will see, with that calculation, we get 275.184 on our dyno. Now remember, our figures from our dyno already were 274.9. So dyno developments, dyno and its calculations, pretty much bang on. What more is there to say? This is not anything against MB's dyno or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that. Dynos in general, they do their own calculations, that's fine. The older the dyno, the older the software, the older the calculations. It's just the way it is. Is there one right way, one wrong way? No, it really doesn't matter. The way to look at a dyno is if you get before figures on one dyno, get your after figures on the same dyno. That's fine. Comparing two different types of dyno is where your calculations will come in, and you want to make sure that one dyno's calculations are the right ones. From our point of view, wheel horsepower figures are bang on. The one thing we want to sort of show, for me and myself, I need to know that the figures are doing what they're supposed to do on other dynos as well. Huge thank you to MB Garage Services for their use of the dyno, and Day One for the use of the classroom, and Double Barrel Media for the video production.